So when somebody applies to be a foster carer, you meet all sorts of different people along the way. And one of the integral parts of that process is your supervising social worker. So we thought, let's get one in and have a chat to them. So welcome, Anna.
Hi.
Hello. So let's find out a little bit about you, Anna. You are a supervising social worker in the Midlands, aren't you? So how long have you worked for National Fostering Group?
So I was with the group previously around September 21 and worked here for about 6 months, and then I had a big knee operation, which I can talk about in a little bit. So went away for a few months and then came back May last year. So kind of on and off for a couple of years, really.
Yeah. So we'll find out all about, being a social worker, what that involves, how you're involved with families during the assessment process and beyond. But first, I want to know all about your background because it's quite interesting what you're into, isn't it? So you are a strong woman. Is that right? Can you tell us about what that is?
So most people would associate it with strongman that you see on Channel 5 at Christmas time.
Yeah.
So it's the female version essentially of that. Very similar. We do the same exercises, the same weights, not exactly the same weights, but the same implements. So you kind of lift awkward things.
So it's like pulling cars and things like that.
Yeah, truck pulls, lifting
Wow.
cars, running with various weights, stones, sandbags, deadlifts, if any of that means anything.
So how long have you been doing that for and how did it all start?
So I've only been competing for a year. I did a beginners competition February 23, but I've been lifting in the gym, sort of dipping into strength stuff for like maybe 3 or 4 years. So yeah, I kind of stumbled on it accidentally, I suppose. I used to play rugby. I played rugby for about 15 years. I had quite a bad injury to my knee, and then kind of the gym stuff took over, and it's escalated from there, really.
Wow. So what's like the most obscure thing you've ever pulled?
I've pulled a truck.
You pulled a truck?
Yeah, I've pulled a truck.
Wow.
And like a pickup of like, you sit on the ground and pull it towards you, and the truck pull is when it's been like behind me.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're, I guess, the most obscure things. I don't know what the heaviest of those, but I've done like heavier other things. So.
And what is it that you love about it?
So for me, it's like when you're lifting something strange off the ground or carrying it, you can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
So like within my job and like life, things get stressful. But when I'm focusing and training for it and doing the competitions, I literally can think of nothing else but how am I going to get this thing off the ground? Or
so it's quite mindful.
Yeah. And I'm not a good relaxer, kind of sit and meditate. I don't respond well to that. I'm more of a kind of doer, relaxing. If you do something, you can relax that way. And that, I mean, it's not relaxing, but it is absolutely mindful. Like that's the only thing you can think about is doing that in that moment. Yeah.
So as you say, your job, I suppose, can be quite full on at times.
Yeah.
And that's a nice sort of antidote to that.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's absolutely, it's very good for my mental health. I find that I would say I need to train to kind of keep myself mentally well, actually.
Yeah. So let's talk about your career then and your role. So how long have you been a social worker for?
I qualified, I think, 2013, so like 11 years now. And yeah, it's kind of flown by. I tried lots of different roles and sort of settled in fostering.
Yeah, so I think everybody knows what a social worker is in that they've heard of the term, but what does it actually involve? And it can be quite broad, can't it?
Yeah, so you kind of a master of all trades, but like you sort of see the child holistically, so everything around them. Obviously within this role, my role is to support foster carers, but the central part of all of social work is always children and safeguarding children. So that's a central part of our job and everything else around that. So, within fostering, we support foster carers, we work with the children's social worker, like school, health, everybody around the child. in order to kind of get the best outcome for them and hopefully, the best placement for them, and ideally so that they can thrive and have as positive future as possible.
So when somebody applies to be a foster carer, where do you fit into that journey?
Right at the beginning at the moment. So in our team, we do what's called Form Fs. So that's the initial assessment of foster carers. So I don't do the initial visits. We've got like a recruitment team that do that in NFG, but I get a family or a couple or a single person allocated to me to assess and go out and meet them, kind of get to know them. It's quite a big piece of work, like right all through their background, their experience with children, like parenting capacity and an analysis of that over a few months. So right at the beginning of the journey, and then carry on working with them as their supervising social worker. So monthly check-ins with them, help them with training, like very much alongside them through their journey, support them at meetings when they do get matched with children. It's massive.
Yeah,
really.
I think people can feel quite daunted, can't they, by the assessment process and, having to sit down with a social worker and talk about their life and, learn the ins and outs of what makes them tick. What would you say to somebody who maybe does feel a bit nervous about that or feels put off by that?
I think that, you've got interested in fostering for a reason. That's not a light decision to take. And if you've taken that decision, sit with the process for a minute. Hopefully you'll get somebody that you gel with quite naturally. Like I haven't done an assessment where I haven't managed to gel with that person. And it's not a rush. We're not rushing to go into your deepest, darkest secrets, anything like that. We're just getting a feel for the person that you are or the couple that you are to see what would work for you. And I think it's a really great experience. It's an absolute honour for me to be able to do that and get to know somebody like that. But also for people that I've assessed, they find it quite therapeutic in a way, because you're going back, you're talking about things that have gone on in your life. And, you realise how far you've come as a person as well. We've all got completely unique journeys. So I think not to worry about it and just to let it take its time. And enjoy it for the process and the experience that it is, really.
I hear so much as well from couples who foster that process is like really bonding.
Yeah.
And, like they learn things about each other that they didn't know. It's almost like therapy for them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think we do some sort of digging into relationships, things like that. And, I know people can often be nervous. You do checks on ex-partners. And I always say that's not something, if they, relationships break down, and not everyone's going to have a nice opinion of the other person. And that doesn't mean to say that they can't be a foster carer. It's just to know, that in terms of parenting capacity and how they manage things. So it is daunting, but it's also a really great experience, I think.
What would you say, Anna, some of the things are that people think rule them out from being a foster carer when actually they're things that can be overcome and worked through? What are some of the common ones?
I think people might worry if they've got health conditions or any previous mental health. I know a lot of people worry about, if they've had issues with anxiety or depression, and they would not rule people out. It's just a case of how things are being managed, kind of things that you'd put in place, support you've got around you. I think people might have like a criminal record, but it might be something really minor that's not a problem. Again, there's things we can work out. I think debt can sometimes worry people, but all of those things are things I've experienced in my role, and we've kind of come up with a way of like managing things, and it's not been a problem.
Yeah.
So if any of those things put people off, then they don't need to.
Now, one of the words that always comes up when I have these chats with people about fostering, whether it's people like yourself who work within fostering or foster carers, like rewarding always comes up. But I imagine your work is very rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when in this role, obviously working with children previously as well, but in this role, particularly with new foster carers, when I've matched them with a young person, a child who has, really been struggling, And over a few weeks, it's hard. It's initially hard, and there might be a honeymoon period. There always is. And then as things start to kind of come to fruition with behaviours and things like that, that to see the carers manage that and then us work together as a team and put stuff in place, and then this person, this child in the middle of it, is doing really well and feeling settled, probably for the first time in their life, or ever. Amazing to see how far they can be supported, and people can sort of build that relationship with them and their family. Like it's a lovely thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you think of any sort of instances of, times when maybe a particular situation has been difficult and you've overcome it, and how that's made you feel?
You put me on the spot now. I think
I love doing that.
Yeah. I guess so. I've had some new carers fairly recently. They were matched with a little boy who wasn't in school, and it didn't really work because of that and their working commitments and things. So we ended up, he moved somewhere else, which was managed really well. But since then, they've been matched with a little girl, and things have been going really, really well there. She's like flourished there. We were a bit concerned because her birth family live quite close, and we didn't know if that might cause any issues. But actually, we found it's worked really well. She's managed to stay in the same school she was in before, keep family links, but also boundaried, and feeling somewhere familiar, but in a safe home where she's really doing brilliantly, and in the matter of kind of a couple of months has built up a really strong relationship with them, and they've got birth children as well. So that's been a real success story.
Yeah, so you must go home from a day at work and feel like you've done something really important.
Yeah, I think so. When I'm not like worrying about things.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general. Yeah.
Well, because it is very important work, isn't it? Because unfortunately, you will deal with children who have had very challenging starts in life. And do you feel like it's sort of society's responsibility to help those children? Why do you think people should become foster carers?
I think that there's people don't we've got in care, and the numbers are huge. And at the end of the day, they're just children who haven't had the best start in life, and their families are in the same position. And if anybody is able to do that and has the capacity to do that, it's a wonderful thing to give back. And, these people, and they're going to go on and be amazing adults and do all these amazing things, and to be any part of their journey, whether it's short term or long term, is huge. And rather than kind of seeing the responsibility of that, seeing the potential of that, I think is really important. I think if, we can be selfish as humans, can't we? We can be focused on our own needs. And if you've got that love and energy to help somebody else, then do it.
Yeah, and it is something that, as you say, it is selfless, but people can get so much from it, can't they? What would you say are the benefits of becoming a foster carer? What do people get from it?
I think the daily little joys of seeing a child, whatever age, teenagers or youngsters, progress. I think people estimate how quickly progression can be if they're stable and in a loving home. So I've known children who really their language skills have been really underdeveloped, who've gone to live with carers for just a few months and gained a massive vocabulary and made such leaps and caught up on so much from where they were. And, I've known children who've essentially not ever spoken a word, and then have become these really engaging people that can hold a conversation. And the small wins like that, they're every day there's a little win like that for if you're looking after children.
Yeah. So there is a lot of support for people, isn't there? It's not like you just get given a child or children
No.
and then that's it.
Yeah,
you're on your own sort of
No.
thing. There's always that support all the way along the way, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And is fostering something that you might do yourself at some point in your life, do you think, Anna?
I think I would. Yeah, I've thought about it, or even worked in this role. And yeah, as I said, like I think it's such an amazing thing to be part of. My life circumstances are very busy, doing a lot of sports stuff and things like that. But it may be in a few years when I'm in a more kind of stable place and less commitments, it is something I would want to do.
Yeah. And you might think that somebody like yourself, I don't know, might be not put off, but, you know, you might think, oh, you know, I can't imagine myself doing that because, you know, it's quite full on and you've worked in it for quite a long time, but actually it is something that you'd like to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think actually seeing it from my side of things, I don't have a naive view of it. I know how hard it can be, but I also think I could bring in the skills I've learned. Like I've done a lot of therapy training. I'm also a play therapist. That's another bit of training I've done over the years. And I would bring all that into it. Obviously, it's very different when it's your lived experience day to day. But I just think that there's so many children that need that support and help. If I'm in the position to do that, I'd love to do that.
Yeah. So tell us about your play therapy then. What's that about?
So I did that maybe like 5 or so years ago. So I'm a play therapist as well. So essentially it's supporting younger children using modalities of play. So sand, clay, art, music, things like that. And using those skills rather than talking therapy, which can be really difficult for children, especially with trauma. So they've got all the access to these different parts of the toolkit and can use those to express their emotions and have a safe place to kind of process things.
Yeah, because unfortunately, you know, there are children in care and that go into foster placements who have been through significant trauma. What do you think it is that those children need?
I think the key thing is safety and security. So, and I don't just mean physically, I mean like emotionally being held. So having a place where they feel like they haven't got any of those pressures that they shouldn't have, you know, maybe the care and responsibilities they've had for parents or siblings as they've been growing up, and not exposed to things that they shouldn't be exposed to as children. The opportunity to be children and to just grow and kind of have that sort of opportunity to grow up without those pressures that they shouldn't have.
Yeah. And that's what fostering can give children, isn't it? That opportunity to be children.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when because obviously we talked earlier about your other life as a strong woman and a rugby player. Do you still play rugby, or is that done now?
No, so basically I had a big knee injury, or a course of a few, in 2021, and I had to have a major surgery early 22.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a shock. I'd played rugby for years. I think I thought I was invincible and just kind of put my body on the line every week, and then had a knee scan and needed the surgery. And it was a year recovery, like a year rehab from that, because they grafted a hamstring and made me a new ligament in my knee, essentially. So it just takes a really long time to get it right.
And then you thought, I know what I'll do. I'll pull trucks instead. That'll be nice and easy on my knee.
Well, the thing I could do, I could lift weights like lying down initially, and then so like legless stuff for the first few months, and then built up my strength like that. And I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. And kind of strength sports is getting bigger and bigger for women, which is amazing. And like sport in general for women it's always been a passion of mine. I absolutely love sport. And to kind of do something that is usually seen as a man's thing, I think I like to kind of go against the grain and be like, well, actually, we can do that too.
Equality, totally.
Yeah. So I did go back on the rugby pitch after my recovery, but I just was a bit reserved. And I think the difference is I can't control whether someone's going to run into me and I'm going to land strangely. Whereas, I mean, obviously I could drop the weights, but in general, that's in my control.
Right.
Okay. So
so I suppose what I wanted to ask was when you're in your supervising social worker role, do people ever know that you're a strong woman? Do you tell them? Do the worlds ever collide?
Well, sometimes I do, because like it's part of relationship building, you know, we're all
you get to know each other,
Yeah, like it's strengths in relationships, isn't it? And to give a little bit of yourself. And like sometimes on a Monday, if I'm a bit like tired or like, because, you know, I've had some big competitions recently. We sometimes talk about it. And I think it's a really good thing for children in care, you know, boys, girls, whatever, to see that, like, you know, sport is great and anybody can try anything and give it a go.
And what do you think it teaches you, like the sport that you do? Like, you know, I suppose discipline really, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, the importance of training, even if, I think I've read this where motivation isn't always going to carry you through. Actually, discipline is the bit that will. So like I can think, because I get up early some days a week to do it, like 5 a.m. And I can think, I'm really tired, I really don't want to do it. But actually it's like, you know what, I've got this competition coming up or I've got this to work for. I'll just get up and do it. And it carries you through. And it's learning new skills. It's not as simple as just picking something heavy up. There is things that you need to do that. And you need to build particular muscles. You need to like learn particular skills to be able to master it.
Yeah.
And like learning the mastery of something is a great achievement.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself, you know, in like 10 years time? Like, you know, do you think you'll still be a social worker, or do you think you'll be fostering, or do you think you'll be pulling massive trucks still?
Well, in terms of my career, I think I'd still be a social worker. Like I go through phases of thinking, you know, I'm not sure, but I love working with people. I do. And I would like to be a foster carer. So I guess, maybe 10 years, I'd see myself doing that. And I'm hoping I can win lots of strong woman titles as well outside of that. That would be great. I'd like to go on a stage. I'd like to compete abroad. Like I've already done really, really well for my first year. So
amazing. So have you been on the telly yet then? Is it on the TV?
No, I think my next competition's being streamed actually, because so I won England's Natural Strongest Woman in February, and the next step is against Ireland, Wales and Scotland in May. And I think that one's being streamed. So it's a bit closer to being on TV. But
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, as we said, you know, with the name of this new podcast series, Voices of Fostering, it's been wonderful to hear from you today. You know, one of the integral parts of the fostering process. You're a supervising social worker, but you've also got a fascinating life behind all that as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Anna. It's been fabulous to speak to you. Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you.